Welcome back to the Code Yellow podcast, where we talk about relationships from the lens of scripture and good old common sense. Remember, if you like what we bring, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Join us on the road to 1,000 subscribers so that we can extend our village, extend the family, and join us as we're on this journey. Zal, what you have for us?
All right, so I'll ask you guys, where would be a dream place that you want to go? Like travel, and I've heard the Maldives and Bora Bora and Africa and just all that fun stuff. But where's a place that you are not interested in ever going? Because for whatever reason, the weather, too cold, too hot, not diverse, so on and so forth. Devin, what you got?
Germany.
Tell us why.
I don't know. It's just... I like colored countries because the food is usually really good and the weather is really nice. Something about Germany just gives like plain yogurt, not vanilla yogurt, plain yogurt. Have you had plain yogurt before?
Yes.
I had one. I went to, it's just fittingly named. I went to a frozen yogurt spot in California that was really big in Southern California, and I tried one of their things, aptly named Euro Tart.
That's hilarious.
It's like, it was. I tasted it and I spat it out.
Yeah.
In a container.
It's like
milk
almost, but in a not good
milk
way.
with somehow less flavor.
Yeah.
It was
Watery milk.
I'm sorry. Yeah, that's
a good one. For me, I don't want to say I'll never go, but I don't need to go back because I've been there. Grand Cayman Islands. It only because the island is not that big. And literally like the whole tour bus, like it took us about 3 hours to get through. You go to the beach. There's just, to me, like not much to go back for. Yeah. So I wouldn't it's not on my list to like for Taj and I to go because I would only spend a week. I did like a cruise there. And then one day, like we went from one side of the island to the other. I was like, okay, that was enough.
As the resident Haitian, how about Dominican Republic, Annie?
Oh, for sure, I would go.
You
I
would
know
go to
there's
Dominican?
I've been a lot of times.
Oh, wow.
Or a few times because we've like flown into there instead of the capital. But yeah, for sure. I know there's like, our fake beef or whatever, but I mean, it's literally whether some of that want to believe it or not, we're all the same people. We helped them get their independence. So it's like, I'm going. I help free y'all. We're going.
Yeah.
What about you?
You just going,
Yes.
I'm the icebreaker. All right. Russia. So along the same lines of Germany, like why would I ever need to go to Russia, formerly known as the USSR? It's bitter cold.
Yeah.
I do know how to say like privyet, like hello in Russian. Like that's the only thing I know. But I have no interest in ever going to Russia. Like why? No. Yeah. I saw the 6888. I think they were in like somewhere in Russia or Germany or somewhere. Again, bitter cold
place. Yeah.
What good food do y'all have? You know what I mean? Just totally not interested.
Yeah.
Did you know that vodka is made from potatoes?
I did know that.
Yeah. When I learned that, I was just like, huh?
When I learned it for sure. Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah. Chaz, where place you're like, yep, you like who don't be interested in a lot of things. Like, I'm not interested in doing this activity. Where's a place that you're like, it doesn't excite me?
I'm pretty much down to go anywhere that's safe. Like it's not dangerous. So it's kind of hard to answer that. But I don't know, whenever Seattle, Washington, or just like Washington State comes up, I'm just like, I don't know. I just
rainy.
I guess because I don't. Yeah, I guess because I don't know what to do there.
Hiking.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Kiana and Jeremy went, and there's like, it's so mountainous that you could literally like go for miles and in the like trails and not see a soul. It's so quiet.
I think you sold it to me. I don't mind hiking. I don't know if I don't want to see anyone though.
Right.
Then I start thinking about if something happens.
So true.
Is anyone gonna ever walk past?
No, probably
And
not.
when it starts snowing,
Yeah.
you're gonna die. You're gonna
So
die.
let me just say Washington State in general, because I don't want, however, if I have an opportunity, I'm not going to turn it down.
Right.
But you're not just like jumping
I'm not
over.
running there. Yeah.
Right. So the topic we're gonna jump into a little bit potentially more like heavy, because we're gonna talk about sharing. Every relationship has like its own like heaviness or like load that comes with just existing, especially with like say motherhood, fatherhood, parenthood in general. and kind of like some of the natural inequities there are in relationships. I feel like we might have touched on it in the past, but like, how do we start sharing the load a little bit better?
Dun, dun, dun.
I feel like you have something to offer with that. You're really good at, I feel like, at least trying to seek how you can.
Yeah. I mean, especially when, you have a child, I think it's really important to not be, I always think about like the aloof dad, like, the dad that's in the house, but you have like no idea what's going on under your roof, like with what's going on with your children or your wife or this, that, and the third. And so, as a father and a husband, I really think that, get in where you fit in. I was talking to my cousin a couple months ago, and she was just like, you know what? As a wife, as a wife and a mother, I've come to the realization that as a woman, I have to pick up the load. Not saying that my husband doesn't. I mean, he does work and provide, and she does as well. But she was just like, I just have to do more. And I'm like, I've accepted that. And I don't know if there's like a blockage or a barrier that acceptance wasn't there. But she was like, yeah, I just have to do more. I have to, do the cleaning or do the bedtime routine sometimes a little bit more often. Or she didn't give specifics. I just gave specifics. So that's as a reminder to, just try to step in where you can. I'm someone, I try to my goal is to make my wife's life easier, even if she doesn't think that I am, or it doesn't feel like I am. You know what I mean? Like a lot of times I'll be like, yo, like I wash the dishes. Like you just put baby girl to bed. Like I'll wash the dishes. I'll sweep up, whatever the case may be. So I think when couples, men and women, decide like, how can I make my significant other's lives easier, then the load doesn't feel as heavy. So that's what I got.
Yeah. Like, I think it's kind of like almost like a little pride thing for me, right? Where like, I will never accept being known as a person who can't do something. Maybe that's why I do a lot of things. Like, I want to be able to think something and be like, nah, I can do this. Like at any point. So I cook and I clean with the best of them, right? So like, but it is work. It is work. And I gotta kind of like decide to put that extra energy forward. And we deal with that. Men and women deal with stuff, respectively, right? Like I wonder like sometimes what the dynamic as parents is gonna be like for Martha and me, right? Because I pride myself in not being, an additional child, right? But like I do know that, so I work full time. She's gonna be working more part time, which naturally she's gonna be doing more of the baby stuff, right? But like it's like I try to like think over and over again, like, okay, how will I be able to lighten her load when the rubber meets the road, right? Like, so because I mean, it's just interesting, like. Is it true, I don't know if you guys have observed this, that babies act up way more with mom than with dad? Have you guys observed that?
I would say yes. Partly because of what he says. Like, she'll do something and, like, her thing right now, she doesn't like to lay down on a changing table. A lot of babies go through that. You have to lay down so you can get changed. That just is what it is. And it's like wrestling an alligator. And that's across the board. It is a universal experience. And I'm like, does she do this with you? He's like, she doesn't do that with me. Da, 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 da. And they're just different things and different ways that she responds to things that she does with me. And we're together, majority of the time, all day till daddy gets home. I don't know. I guess it's just different. What say you?
I mean, I see through the eyes of a perfect little angel. So.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. I mean, she's fine with me. We be chilling.
I feel like that response doesn't help because maybe she does act a certain way with him, but because he doesn't perceive it a certain way, it's not translating the same. Maybe she doesn't do it, or maybe she doesn't. He's like, oh, because she'll fuss at me about something. She's expressing herself, like that she wants to do the opposite in that moment, or she wants to do something else. And he'll come in the room, who made my baby cry? And I'm like, one, she's not crying, and two, who made me cry? Should be the question. Like, I'm the one suffering right now, like she's displeased with me because I'm trying to look out for her well-being in the moment, so But I do think that is true. I actually remember Pastor telling a story about his wife not wanting to discipline their son in a certain way, and she would not do it. And he was like, you got to do it because he's not going to listen to you. And of course, as the father, the son would be very obedient with his father. And apparently he went out of town one time, and she had to discipline in a certain way, and it changed her life in a good way. But it got to a point where it was like, oh, now I see what you're saying, Dad, because he was acting up with her, that he wasn't with Dad. So I think the tone of voice makes a difference. I mean, there's been times she's doing something, it's innocent, but I could just tell that when her dad came to the door, she kind of like, I wasn't doing that, even though it wasn't necessarily bad, but I'm like, interesting. So it's true. It's true, Devin.
I was with, I'll call him my nephew, one of Mike and Steffi's boys, the younger one. We were just chilling on the sofa. Mom had gone to get her nails done with Martha, and we were just chilling, watching like YouTube videos on the TV, the music stuff, right? And he was chilling, was like touching the remote, like looking around. Not a peep, not crying, not fussing, not at all. Just me, the boy. His dad was sleeping like a little bit over there. Like we were just chilling. Mom walks through the door. Man,
oh my goodness!
Instant fuss. It was like remarkable to see that. Like just that change. Like
with your experience with children, Annie, would you say it's a thing?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
More so, and I want to say the positive side, which I always do, is that children feel most themselves at home, and because of sometimes the work dynamics, and like dad is at work and they're with mom, they feel more comfortable to fully be themselves and explore with the mom. And it's more like an exploration and a testing boundaries thing. They feel comfortable to push boundaries with mom that dad's like usually they're just more disciplined to like be firmer and stuff, where they'll like see what I can get away with mom. And so yeah, that's normal.
Okay.
I have a question though, as the dink
Yes.
dual income, no kids resident.
No kids.
How does your husband, or how do you lessen the load? With his, I know he works a lot. I know you work a lot with families, and just it's a lot, right? So how do you like lessen the load when you are seeing that? All right, he got a lot, or how does he do it for you?
I mean, I think that we've discussed like what works like best for our house. Like Taj, especially right now is tax season. He's a tax accountant. So like it's all about like lightening the load, because he's doing like 12, 14-hour days, leaving super early. Like, yeah, he's like, it's a lot. And my schedule just naturally is a lot more flexible. Like I have to be available for my job, but I don't necessarily always have to be there. And so like it's easily like he doesn't have to do household stuff right now. Like I'm cooking, I'm cleaning, like because I just want him to come home and just be able to fully like leave work and not have to deal with it. Obviously when it's not tax season, like we try to make it a little like the household things a little more balanced. But even not even balanced, what just like is balanced for us, because again, like I'm home, like sometimes I can work like 3 hours a day and like it just like works. So I'm not gonna have him like come home and still be like, well, it's your day to cook. Like I was here, like I might as well like help it. It might as well just be ready.
Yeah.
But it just like works for our dynamic now. And so we've talked about like in the event of like seasons changing, like, what that looks like. Like right now it's tax season. So what we might like have a discussion after tax season, like, hey, okay, like your schedule's a little bit more 9 to 5 right now. So what tasks do you want to pick back up? Like, so we're constantly like taking temperature changes or temperature checks on like what that will look like. And we do it like pretty often to make sure like no one feels like burdened.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So what is this? Because I feel like these are very tangible things that you can measure a load. What about when it's something that pulls at the emotions? What if there's a change like with job or a familial dynamic? What does that look like? How do we support our spouses in that way? Especially when it's like not really anything you can do to maybe change the situation, what does that look like?
Man, like that's sometimes a tough question to answer because everybody's different. Everybody has a slightly different disposition, right? So let's say I'm going through something versus Martha going through the same thing. We might shoulder that emotional burden differently. Martha might be more readily like, oh, this is not it. Like basically, or like readily like might express that this sucks. And more, I might absorb it to the point where I can't really absorb it anymore. And I start maybe leaking out in other ways. Not against her, but maybe I'll scroll on my phone more. Maybe I'll just eat more junk food. Like it starts showing up in more insidious ways that, are a little bit harder to catch, right? So I honestly, at the end of the day, it comes down to knowing your partner, right? So knowing how they carry a burden. Like the longer Martha and I, we've been married almost 5 years, together since 2012, right? So now, these days, I can't even hide if I'm upset. Martha will like just see it, feel it. Like there's no hiding from it, right? So that's something I've grown to value, right? Because anonymity is nice, but it can't work in a functioning relationship. You can't share anything if you're trying to hide everything.
It's good.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah, I was the emotional part. I wanted to ask you, Devin. You can't change that your father-in-law passed or whatnot. So, how are you able to just navigate that? With your, wife. How are you able to navigate that?
So there are like other features to the story that make it even more complicated than just father-in-law dying. There's a lot of crazy emotions at play, right? But I remember that time I kind of was focused on Martha, but also kind of just in solution mode whenever, because it was like I lost somebody too, right?
Yeah, for sure.
But you kind of go into I gotta go into this mode of like, what's next? So like everything kind of becomes like moment by moment rather than day by day, week by week. It's like you're dealing with everything in the moment. So so I think I just put all of my potential feelings aside, just focus on how is Martha doing, right? Because as much as I knew him, because I literally grew up with Martha, like literally like her mom changed my diapers type. Like, right? So like literally known them my whole life. So, but like I put it aside and just kind of focus on how's Martha doing? So now her family started doing like these like Zooms, like weekly Zooms that were unbearably long. So unbearably long. So like if Martha was able to stay on, we would stay on. If she wanted to come off, we would come off. Like it was just, I don't even know if I answered your question for real, but like I just remember just diving into like taking care of Martha, just everything down to even like when we went to the funeral part, which is a whole other story by itself. Like this was peak COVID, and we flew to Kenya to bury this man. They shipped his body, and like this is in August. Like he died in April, and we buried him in August.
Wow.
Right, but anyway. It was just like moment by moment, just making sure Martha was doing good. Yeah. That's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you. Like how I know like couple, we go through stuff. Like we go through grief, we go through disappointment. Like how have you guys had experience with sharing those loads with each other?
I was thinking about that because I think, if you've been married literally a day, you'll get to the point where your partner disappoints you.
Oh man.
And that's like, I think, honestly, one of the things that I don't think you're really prepared for. Like, I don't think really people really talk about, it's not, I'm looking for the word, but it's not necessarily bad. It's just like nobody really prepares you for what it looks like for your partner to, especially when you get to marriage, to be like your spouse, to be the person you're like forever with. But like to feel the like disappointment of like them not meeting all your expectations. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so, like literally at like the moment you get married, like life is just going to happen and you realize like they're not God. And I think that that's a beautiful way to look at it, because the same way they're not God, like you're not God. And so the same way they're disappointing you, you're disappointing them. But I think, I don't know, I think at least I can only obviously like speak for Taj and I think, that perspective of like humanizing him like has really helped, because like humans are going to be disappointing, but then it's just the ability to forgive and like let go and just realize that we're all in this like learning process. Like marriage is a learning process, and life is a learning process. Like if you have relationship in general, people are going to disappoint, but that dynamic even more so of being like close with your spouse, like you just feel, I don't want to say a lot more disappointment, but like the proximity to disappointment is like just
different.
closer and different, because like you're literally doing life with this person. It's like, man, like I wish that didn't happen, or whatever the case may be. And so I think it's really just like being introspective and being like, you know, I disappoint as well. He's not God. So I can't put him on this pedestal of like this person who's never going to have faults. And then just being able to communicate. And also I think that that's depending on your personality style, being able to tell them of the disappointment, I think is like another layer of a healthy marriage, of just being able to be like, yeah, like I was disappointed, like that happened. I was disappointed that didn't happen, or whatever the case may be, and be able to express it. And so one, hopefully, eventually they can change their behavior, or two, they can just like be able to themselves be introspective of like, you know, I fell short in this area at one point. I don't want to continue to do it again. So let me like work on this, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like communicating those disappointments, and then also when you're on the receiving end, creating space for it to be naturally come out, and then giving that person what they need in the moment. Because like a lot of the time, like it's very easy to kind of like when somebody expresses a disappointment, you're like, oh, I didn't mean it like that, or I didn't blah, 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 blah. Forgetting that intent does not always equal impact. Right. So just even if you feel like the person's just speaking garbage, at least give them the chance to just get it out.
Yeah. That's something I had to learn. Yeah. For sure.
Yeah. Let them get it out. And then now we can decide, okay, now we're on common speaking terms. It makes sense. Right.
Yeah.
We can speak the same language, and then we can repair. Right.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. Has the time gotten away from us a little bit?
No. What is time?
What is time?
What is time?
Man, like, but I think that all in all, like, navigating these tough spaces with your spouse, it's a journey of growth, right? Especially going to older adulthood, you realize that some things work, some things don't, right? So, I mean, you'll encounter very, very many situations where like you have to navigate something funny, something weird with somebody else, or something tangible or intangible that's hard to shoulder. And I guess the takeaway from this is just try, do your best. I mean, we're human beings. It's our first time doing today, right?
Yeah.
And tomorrow's going to be another first time, right? So have a little grace and a little clarity go a long way. But anyway, see you next time. Love you. And as always, heal responsibly.
Peace.